Okay, so we're going to look at distributive property. What we're going to do is we're going to simplify this question ourselves. Then we're going to take a look at what, let's say, whoever made this worksheet did, and we're going to figure out what they did wrong with the question by referring back to what we did. Okay? So, distributive property, I'm going to rewrite this question again. We have 3 times, so whenever there is a number, just the number, or essentially a number and a variable, it doesn't matter, outside of a set of brackets, what it means is that value needs to be multiplied by all the terms inside of the bracket. Okay? So what are all the terms inside this bracket? Well, we have an x squared and negative 2x minus 7. So we're going to take this 3, think of it like a rainbow, and we're going to multiply by every single value. So this can be written a couple different ways. You could just do this part in your head. You know, you could do 3 times x squared. Well, I know that's 3x squared. 3 times negative 2x, that's negative 6x. 3 times negative 7, negative 12. Okay, right, I could have done it that way. But I'm going to actually give you a step-by-step version too, just to get there, okay? If you can do it in your head, that's great. If you can't, think of it like this. We have 3 times the first value in the brackets, x squared. Okay. Then we're going to add, we always technically add things in that. 3 times negative 2x. Okay, and then we add again, technically, 3 times negative 7. Okay. Now this is a more complex and a bit harder of a version to do, but it is step by step. 3 times x squared, well technically there's a coefficient of 1, and all we're doing is multiplying the term by the coefficient, because there's no variable with our distributed value here. So 3 times 1 is 3, so we get 3x squared. Plus 3 times negative 2x, well it's just 3 times negative 2, so it's negative 6x. So think of this as like, it's kind of in a bracket where plus minus here, so we're going to have to do something after. And 3 times negative 7, well that's going to be negative 21. Okay, whenever you have operations beside each other with no value between them, you can think of your multiplication rules. So like a positive times a positive is a positive. This is multiplication rules of integers. Negative times a negative is a positive. And a negative times a positive, or vice versa, is a negative. You can actually simplify your operations beside each other using the exact same rules. So if we go 3x squared, positive and a negative, that's a negative, so it's just negative 6x. Positive and negative, that's a negative 21. And that's the exact same thing as if you had just done the rainbow version we wrote before. That would have been your answer. So let's take a look over here. What did they do wrong? Well, it looks like they decided to expand it like we had in our second step. 3 times x squared, that checks out. But they actually didn't multiply the 3 times the second term in the bracket or the third term in the bracket. And because they did that, the only term they got right was the first one, 3x squared. That's correct. They forgot to multiply this by 3 and this by 3, and that's why these two terms are different from what they got in their answer. Okay, so you would essentially have circled those two and said they needed to multiply them by 3.